It's waxing lyrical, baby.
Hello, Waxers, and welcome to Waxing Lyrical with Mains and Dutch. I'm your host, Mains, and my colleague, the new shining star ahead of Joey Barton on TalkSport, is Mr. Neil Dutton. How are we, Neil?
Hardly hotly contested title, is it?
Well, you know, you just got to beat what's in front of you, Neil.
Yeah, you can bet on that.
You were here, and you've got to beat Joey Barton. Neil, obviously, on a Nat show on Tuesday, although it wasn't Nat, it was Will. Still produced by Ollie. I think that's about right, yeah.
I got the dog's abuse from all of them because I suggested that maybe Case Keenum wasn't the best thing to have wasn't the best thing for Stephon Diggs' fantasy outlook, which is advice I took myself. I dropped him in every league that I possibly could, and I got burned as well.
I'm going to say, like, at least you take your own advice. It's not like you told everybody on the planet to do that. They did it, you didn't, and you won all your fantasy games. You also did it and cost yourself a load of points.
Oh yeah, I took the sword, I stuck it in my own gut and twisted it.
Idiot.
That said, my gut can withstand it.
Exactly, a sturdy gut that it is. So let's get on with it. Hot Wax takes as normal. 3 games of the week. Again, we do have a contractually obligated London game, although slightly better than last week, hopefully. And then, obviously, Fancy Darling and Fancy Loser, and our teams of the week from a DFS point of view. Let's get it straight on with it, and then let's look at our hot takes.
Before that earthquake claims us all.
So I'll go first on, because mine's an overarching of the whole week. Week 3 had to be the weirdest week of NFL football I think I've ever watched. There was 8 home dogs for a start. That won. So I don't know how many home teams would have been in a situation where they've been the underdogs. They all won. Some of them in dominant fashion. The Jags absolutely annihilate the Ravens. You know, it was just absolute and utter chaos. You know, when a 63-yard field goal from a rookie is not the most random thing that happened in a week, you know it's a busy week.
61 yards.
Whatever.
I counted them all.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Did you enjoy that one? Did you like that, as my quarterback would say?
We may get onto that in my first take.
Oh, fantastic. It's just weird, doesn't it? I hope it continues, because if it continues, my team might win more.
It was very, very strange. I mean, an awful lot of, to borrow the phrase from Ghostbusters, it was, cats living with dogs, mass hysteria. It's just, the whole thing was upside down. I mean, I'm struggling to think now, quite a few days removed, of anything that went to script. No. I don't. Was anything chalky about the week that just was?
No, I don't. Well, maybe Monday Night Football. I did expect the Cowboys to win, although they only won comfortably in the fourth quarter, so maybe that doesn't even count.
No.
Yeah, I don't think anyone saw, Rams 49ers as like, the second coming of Joe Montana against the greatest show on turf. I don't think anyone saw Sunday Night Football coming in a million years. No one saw the Bears beating the Steelers, but maybe we should have, and I think I'll come on to that. So give me your first hot take, done.
Sadly, as we know, I am no longer able to produce offspring. I've declared on 2, but if I were to have a son, his full name would be Jake Elliott Dutton.
Jake Elliott, obviously the rookie kicker who kicks 61 yards in the link. To win the game
not in a dome, in windy old, smog-ridden, polluted Philadelphia.
It was. I mean, I hear what you're saying. He wasn't in the vet, was he? He was in a nice, shiny, brand new stadium. Bravo to Philadelphia for attempting to hand the New York Giants that game and then stealing it back from them. Well done to you. There's a couple of questions I have about that game. One is, who in their right mind allows that last throw to occur? And you're 7-0 up. It's about to go to half time. You're in your own you're in your own half, it's 4th and 8, and you decide to go for it. Congratulations, Doug. That's how coaches get sacked.
It's also how coaches win.
It's not. No, it's not. It's not. Because he was just out crap coached by Ben McAdoo. That's all that happened.
I'm not the biggest Doug Peterson. In fact, I'm fairly ambivalent towards Doug Peterson. I can take or leave him. But this isn't something he's done on a whim. He goes for it on 4th down. 4th and 8 is slightly, a little bit obscure. There was another 4th down. I don't know if this might be the same one that Wentz took a sack on. No, Carson, not on 4th down. No, bad ginger. Don't take a sack. Just punt it with your arm, for God's sake.
Yeah.
But ultimately, given the choice of absolutely blowing the Giants out, which the Eagles do, or beating them like this, I'll take this.
I see what you're saying, and I tend not to disagree as a man who usually celebrates the 91st minute winner more than the 4-0. So yeah, I understand what you're saying. My next one, Dutton, comes to that game. It comes to a game between the Chiefs and the Chargers, and it comes to a game in Chicago between the Steelers and the Bears. And the question is, Dutton, is the 2004 rookie quarterback class officially done?
I think it's officially done, but you'd have to be, an incredibly rosy-eyed optimist to say that those three are lighting it up. Eli Manning, shockingly, managed to put up numbers with Odell Beckham. I wonder who thought that could happen. Phil Rivers, interceptions. No, it's not how we do it. And Roethlisberger may have retired during the off season. Well, that's how he's playing.
He said he did. He was going to, and then he threw his coach under the bus at just after putting on what I can see. After pooing on his lawn, he then threw him under a bus. Thanks, Ben. The quarterbacks are struggling. Let's be honest. And Eli put up numbers, but I believe it was me, you, and Chal in the secondary for the Eagles.
Was somewhat depleted.
Somewhat depleted. The two main starters and 2 of the reserves. How many bloody cornerbacks do you have? The Steelers, what are you doing? Like, we talk about this all the time. Like, the New England Patriots have Tom Brady and a cast of misfits and seem to score 40 points every time they rock up against a good Houston defence. The Steelers just don't do that. Why did they not score 40 points every week? What is stopping them from doing that?
If we knew the answer to that, I suspect we wouldn't be sat talking to each other on a Wednesday night.
Or we would, just in a jacuzzi in a big, massive house.
Maybe. Not together.
Not together, obviously. Next one, Dutton.
The Patriots, we're saying about the offense, their defense is sneaky crap.
Just so you know, I'm not 100% sure it's sneaky. I think it may just be crap.
Yeah.
Let's be
32nd in total defense, 32nd in passing yards, and 26th in rushing yards. This isn't a Bill Belichick defense, is it?
I think someone I listened to a podcast and someone suggested that Matt Patricia maybe reined in a little. I think what that means is go and sit in that darkened room, Matt. I'm taking over from me here.
Yeah, I'll do it. You look like Panasar with the same initials. Because the Patriots should be 1-2 as well. If idiot cornerback for the Texans, why are you trying to intercept that? Don't be a hero. Push him out.
If you were like a Patriots hater though, you'd just be like, only the Patriots can like have a fumble with 30 seconds left that goes back to their player. The next play is basically a punt which somehow someone catches, and then they throw the good pass. You're just like, oh, get lost. If you're a Jets fan, it's time to walk out of your third-story window. Dutton, I've said I'm doing it now. I'm never picking the Pittsburgh Steelers to beat a rubbish team ever again. Like, Mike Tomlin has a 64% win percentage, and apart from the only teams he gets beat by are really, really bad ones and the Patriots. Do you know, like, so 36% of all his losses are either Patriots or a team that goes 3-13.
Yeah. We've talked about this in the past. Losing to teams that are so beneath you in terms of talent comes down to the coach.
It's got to.
That's not a player thing. That's a team that has turned up underprepared, undercooked, and overly confident. That's a coach thing. That's a coaching issue.
It is. What's next, Lutz?
If Cam Newton is your main quarterback in fantasy football, you're screwed. Time to look on the waiver wire.
Get yourself on said waiver wire and look. He is, yeah. There's stuff that's wrong, and I don't really know what it is, but there's lots of it.
See, people were mocking the fact that he had his shoulder surgery before after Andrew Luck, but was back before Luck. Well, let's. I mean, we're always reluctant to paint the Colts with any degree of praise, but let's just start and take a look at that decision and see, would it not have been easier? Cam Newton is the quarterback 26 through 3 weeks. He has 9.7 more fantasy points than Sam Bradford. Now, that doesn't sound a lot until you consider that Bradford has played one game. Cam Newton only has 2 more fantasy points than Mike Glennon, who's not even throwing to receivers. That offense is in trouble, and he's a leading cause of it.
But I think it sounds really weird. I think that the offense would be infinitely better if they had Derek Anderson, because they'd actually know what they were about. Because they got Cam and he's injured, and they're trying to do the things that Cam can do, although he can't because he's injured. You'd be much better just handing it off with Derek Anderson and throwing it every now and again. But with no Olsen and Cam Newton injured, yeah, they're in deep doo doo. Final one from me, Dutton. I wish I could speak to my boss the way Aaron Rodgers speaks to his. The total and utter disdain he showed for some of them play calls on Sunday evening UK time was unbelievable.
That one video, which I'm obviously inferring towards, is downright insubordination from Rodgers.
For someone who hasn't seen it, he looks side-eye, barely turned his head and said, "What an effing rubbish play call."
And then repeats it. But not like in I'm muttering under my breath, I'm facing the opposite direction. He's basically staring directly at Mike McCarthy and saying, the only reason you're still here is because of me, so I can do whatever I want, and I'm swearing at you right now. Yeah, it's a bit like the Joe Pesci, I think it's Casino, that you only exist out here because of me.
Exactly.
That's it. Joe Pesci is Aaron Rodgers, and Mike McCarthy is Robert De Niro in this scenario.
Wow. Final one, Dutton.
The fantasy tight end scoring this year, that position is an absolute cesspool. The top 12 performers in week 3 were only, so of the top 12, 11 of them were only in the top 12 because they scored a touchdown.
Yummy.
I mean, sorry, I'll rephrase that. I mean, Mercedes Lewis caught 4 passes, 3 of them were touchdowns. Take the touchdowns away, you're not getting anything. Gronk had 8 receptions for 89 yards and a touchdown. Jimmy Graham had 7 catches for 72 yards and no touchdown. He is the only person in the top 12 who didn't score a touchdown but actually got in on consistent production.
And let's be honest,
absolute disgrace.
No one picked Mercedes Lewis. Why would they?
No. Well, Maurice Jones-Drew.
Well, apart from Maurice Jones-Drew, but that's because his team is full of Jacksonville Jaguars, because he's a Jacksonville Jaguar. So, cool MJD, love what you're saying, but I don't think that works. Yeah, there are hot takes. Some hot, some not. But we like him. But let's get on, Dutton. Talk about the games of week 4 and the games of the week.
The games of the week.
Touchdown, 85 yards. He's going to score. He's going to score. He's going to score. Touchdown.
First game, Dutton, is the fantastic London game. The Saints against the Dolphins. Dolphins the home team, Dutton, am I right in saying that? Is that accurate?
Yes.
I don't think it does make the bland bit of difference. Well, I'll tell you one thing that New Orleans have learned from Baltimore: turn up early. It might help.
Turn up.
Turn up, yeah, exactly. First
And
question.
don't blame us, Jim. Don't blame us. Don't blame this country. It's got nothing to do with the fact that your team got bullied by the Jaguars.
I saw that and I was like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but like, don't be deflecting away from the fact that that's clearly your fault, not mine. Do you know what I mean?
Because Joe Flacco's passes would have travelled much further in the heady, airy stadium of MT Bank rather than at Wembley. No, don't blame us. Moving on.
Done. After 3 weeks, we've pretty much shown, and the world has shown, we know absolutely nothing about the NFL. We know nothing about any of these teams. And we've seen Jekyll and Hyde from both the Saints and the Dolphins. 3 games from the Saints, 2 games from the Dolphins. My question is have you got any sense of which of the Jekyll or Hyde you're going to see from either of these two teams?
It comes down to, of the units on display, I have the most faith in the Saints offense over all the others. The Dolphins against the Jets last week was absolute garbage. My God, it was pitiful. Now, I was led to believe that Jay Cutler would be, reined in by Adam Gase, because that's what he did in 2015. No. This was Jay Cutler from the dark, dark days of Tressman et al. He was utterly awful. So if he's awful, it affects everyone. But we have seen through 2 games so far, I mean, other than the first week, which was bizarre for how often they targeted Jarvis Landry. But again, he had 13 catches for 78 yards. Gee, thanks. That's very helpful. That's a PPR day to remember. Does bugger all in standard. Thanks very much. He is going to lock in on Devontae Parker because he's a big bugger, and that's what Cutler does. Whereas the Saints, we saw that, people saying that it was a slightly slow start to the season. No, Michael Thomas has got 85 and 89 yards in 2 games this year. I think he's okay. So I will trust. Moving forward, the Saints will score lots of points but also give up a lot. And the Dolphins, I don't know. Because if they can't run the ball, this team is incredibly limited.
I think I know what to expect from the Saints. Like I do. As you said, I expect them to score lots of points and concede lots of points. I don't see that changing. And, they didn't concede a lot of points last week. Yeah. See previous comments about Cam Newton and the Panthers offense for details. Miami, I have no clue. And I think, there's a reason that people hate Jay Cutler. Because 1 week you'll be like, ooh, I like this Jay Cutler. And then next week you'll be like, I hate this Jay Cutler. And then the next quarter you'll be like, ooh, I like this guy. And then the next quarter you won't. And that's why I don't think you'll get a standard, normal Miami game. Because it won't be one. It'll be what mood Jay's in. How many cigarettes has he smoked? And does he have to put his Nicorette patch on?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Carrying on with the Dolphins, will London kickstart London-born Jay Ajayi's campaign? Because it's, as an owner of him, stinks.
Well, he's got his own emoji now, so
that's cool. Yeah, any chance we could have some yards and touchdowns?
I mean, the Jets' defense, had been getting critical, but we thought, especially against the run, it should still be solid. I mean, they still have got, Mo Wilkerson. They've still got Leonard Williams. And it turned up last week. I mean, the Jets are showing that even they can't tank properly by being, competitive in the first 2 games to a point and then absolutely shellacking the Dolphins. I mean, I spoke to, Mullen, obviously a Jets fan, and I said, so, 0-16's out the window. And he went, yeah, but we beat the Dolphins. So, I don't know. Ajayi is a ticking time bomb coming out of Boise State anyway because of his knees. If he's starting to get knee problems now in his 3rd season, there's not a lot down for him because it's a bone-on-bone condition. And, that isn't getting any better. So, you think about how many times we've seen the Dolphins play, actually live.
Enough.
3 times.
Yeah.
They've been good once. Yeah. And that was against the putrid Raiders team. I have very little faith that Ajayi is going to get going against the Saints because he should have got going last week. True.
I suppose you've already answered the final question on the game, but like, is Michael Thomas a wide receiver 1? As in, if you didn't, do you pick him as a top 10 player?
Absolutely. because he's on an offense that, he's not going to get a ton of volume as compared to like DeAndre Hopkins and AJ Green, who are getting force-fed in their college offenses or high school offense, basically. We've got one good player, better feed him. But he's going to be productive when he gets it. And also this week, we've seen that wide receivers are, quarterbacks and wide receivers are tearing up to an extent against the Dolphins. And the Dolphins have problems with wide receivers who are of the bigger frame type, and that's what Michael Thomas is. So if he was the overall wide receiver one this week, I wouldn't be stunned.
Saints are favoured by 3, Dutton, and the over-under is 49.5.
I will take the Saints, and I will take the under, because I can see the Dolphins crap in the bed, and I don't think the Saints are going to get 49 by themselves.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Saints as well. I'm gonna take the under. I don't see 50 points in the game, as you said, because I don't know what the Dolphins are, so I'm not really sure that's a good place to go. Next game, Dutton, massive game and a massive rivalry game in the context of a really tough division, the AFC West. That's Raiders at Broncos. And I guess the first question is, Dutton, like, I know it's only week 4, but because it's a division matchup and this looks like a big division, who is the game bigger for? I
think the Raiders, because we've seen them this season. They've gone into a tough place like Tennessee and ground out a win. They've shellacked the Jets like everyone expected them to, and then in prime time, they pooed their pants. I mean, as you yourself described, they didn't get beat by Washington. Washington dominated them.
I don't think I've ever seen Washington. I can't remember the last time I watched Washington dominate someone since like Gibbs was the coach in like 1990.
It was, you watch it again. I mean, everything worked. I mean, Kirk Cousins was dealing. We know that they're not the strongest defense, the Raiders. They're built to get ahead and then close it out. But they couldn't do that. I mean, the first interception, the first pass that Carr threw, he sailed it. It's a bad throw. But you've seen him do things like that and, go and get it the next time. He never was able to get into a rhythm.
Never got back into a rhythm.
No. So I think the Broncos have been steady. I mean, Trevor Siemian was good in the first 2 weeks, but then he disappeared last week. I just think the Broncos, while they're a competitive team, I don't have great hopes for them. Mm-hmm. Whereas, the hopes we do have for the Raiders, I think they need this one more.
I think it's interesting. I think it depends how you think about it. If you think about it from a number 1 seed in the AFC, then it's a bigger game for the Raiders. If you think about trying to make the playoffs, it's a home game against the rival in your division. I think almost by definition, it makes it a bigger Broncos game. The Raiders game, I think, can I just chalk that up to just a bad day at the office? If I'm the Broncos, I'm a little bit like, ooh, someone found out with the Emperor with no clothes. Is Trevor Siemian going to be that guy and not the other guy for 2 weeks? That concerns me. I think if I'm leaning one way, I'm going to lean the opposite to you. I'm going to go Broncos and say they want a challenge in the AFC West. They've got to win this game. It's a home game against the Raiders. Got to win. On Siemian, Dutton, we mentioned Kirk dealing on Sunday night, and how Siemian struggled against a really good Buffalo defense. To be fair, do we expect him to get right against a mediocre Raiders defense?
Well, you'd expect so, but the problem is that you look at the weapons at the disposal of Kirk Cousins. He had, no Jordan Reed, so he plugged in Vernon Davis, who, whisper it, I'd rather have Vernon Davis than Jordan Reed hobbling. I think that might actually be a smarter idea, Washington. So you've got Vernon Davis, you've got Chris Thompson, who's a freak, and at the moment is falling into fantasy points that he really cannot sustain. There was one catch for Josh Doxson. If that's the one catch that kickstarts him and says this is why the Redskins took him, then yeah, I can see that being something special. And bear in mind, the worst player on this offense is Terrell Pryor, and it's not even close.
Right now he stinks. That's not what we signed him. He's not exactly replacing the 57 catches Pierre Garçon got on Thursday night.
No. What have the Broncos got? They've got Thomas and Sanders, and that's it in the passing game. Now, if we know that, I think the former defensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos, who's now the head coach of the Oakland Raiders, may know that as well. So I can't see him putting on a clinic the way that Kirk Cousins did.
Yeah, I see that. I think they might be. I think Raiders may be able to run a little bit that allows the Broncos to run a little bit on the Raiders, and I think having Thomas and Sanders, although you say that allows you to focus, Washington didn't have that, and he threw all over them. So they've got talented wide receivers. I expect, and you will see later, I expect a decent, if not good, game from Trevor Siemian. Spoiler alert. Should we be concerned by Derek Carr's performance last week, or is it just one of them? Bad day at the office. Stick it in the bin. Bury it with the ball, so to speak, and move on to the next week.
I think so. I mean, this is still a team that is not used to going into situations where they're going to be favourites. It was only last year. I mean, they did really well last year, as we know, but there was still, to an extent, there was still a bit of, really? So, it's a prime-time game. He hasn't done it very often, and he wasn't good. He wasn't helped. I mean, Amari Cooper, somewhat when one of my colleagues wrote of his, Jacob Rick wrote, the best wide receiver out of the 2015 class is not Amari Cooper, it's Stephon Diggs. I'm struggling to disagree.
That was one of them games where you watch Cooper and you just we need you here, Amari, that this is why we picked you. And you seem to be going hiding. Now, to be fair, whisper it, but Washington may be okay on defense. And with Josh Norman and Brashad Breeland both playing really well, it's tough for Cooper. I'm not saying it isn't, but he's a wide receiver one, and Josh Norman could be amazing against Odell Beckham, and Odell Beckham could still get 7 catches for 120 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's how the world works.
Dominate.
That's how it goes. So I was concerned by the offense overall. For whatever reason, Washington punched them in the mouth and they didn't respond. That's concerning. And we got to Carr really easily. I think Von Miller plays for the Broncos.
Yeah, I'm familiar with him.
That's an issue. Raiders at Broncos, Dutton. Broncos are favoured by 2.5, and the over-under is 46.5.
I'm going to take the Raiders, and again I'm going to take the under. I don't know why. Just my gut tells me that for some reason it might just be a point of emphasis that the Raiders are going to have to gut this one out. Whereas if it turns into a shootout, then they win easily, I think. But I just think maybe as a come back to back to Jesus moment, they may want to just it may be a Marshawn Lynch game more than a Cooper Crabtree game.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Broncos just because they're at home, and they may win by a field goal. I think I'm gonna take the over though. I think Raiders get back on it on offense, and I'm not sure they can stop anyone, so I'm going to take the over and it's fun. Taking the over is always more fun, and I've already took an under, so let's not do that again. Games of the week, Dutton, and we're looking at a Monday Night Football game, which first of all is a shock. Second of all, that game features my Washington professional football team at the Kansas City Chiefs, and I guess the question really is, Dutton, at the start of the season, who would have thought that this matchup would be between two of the form teams in the league?
Well, we probably could have thought that if the Chargers would have been the Chiefs would have been up there because they've been pretty good for the last 2 years. But Washington, as we say, went into it as a car wreck, went into the season as a car wreck, and then the start of the season, were unconvincing against the Eagles, but then since then have got back on track with 2 very good defensive performances, and dare I say it, explosive performances on offense from certain players. So it's slightly unexpected, but isn't it nice to have a decent Monday Night Football for once?
It is, and I think I look at it and just go, I wasn't 100% convinced by the Chiefs at the start of the season. I think you were higher on them than me, but we were both higher on San Diego. I think we were both higher on Oakland. Boy, let's not talk about that San Diego pick again. And Washington, they're not who I thought it was. I thought they'd win 8 games and lose 8 games, and it was just a toss-up which team turned up. What I didn't expect is the team that turned up in LA, they always lose that game. And not only did they not lose it, they, for a vast majority of the game, dominated it, running the ball, not really a Jay Gruden thing. And then, like, that thing that I watched Sunday night, first of all, it was on Sunday night. Like, Washington are renowned for being awful in primetime.
Especially at home.
And that was like, let's be honest, if the Green Bay Packers did that, if the New England Patriots did that, if the Denver Broncos did that, I don't know, if the Dallas Cowboys did that, it's probably the best example because they're in our division, that would be the only thing that would have been spoken about all week in the press. And there's been absolutely no mention of Washington. Like, if you look at any of those recap shows, which are all excellent, by the way, I'm not attacking them, Washington was not mentioned. It was just and by the way, Washington won. No, Washington dominated what people prescribe as the best team in the AFC. Absolutely took them apart. No one should expect that, and I didn't. And I woke up on Monday and I'm like, did that actually happen? I watched it again and I'm like, I don't understand what I'm seeing. It was bizarre, and it was because of the way they won.
Surely it's nice for a change for Washington to go under the radar.
No, it is, but they're always under the radar when they're good. Washington is always under the radar when they actually play good football. Their issue is they're always front and centre for absolute, I'm going to swear now, shit show, front office, PR, nightmare, nonsense. But when Washington are actually good at football, no one really pays them any attention, which is a good thing, and I like that. On Washington, Dutton, I know you mentioned you can't fall into touchdowns, but let's say a lot of nice things about, right now, the most explosive player in the NFL, Chris Thompson.
He's been brilliant. But, as I say, if people going out there and making, extravagant trade offers or blowing all their free agent budget on him, cool the Jets, boys. He's got 72 fantasy points on 27 touches. Not going to keep happening. Can't keep happening. He's not built to take that and be productive. I mean, he weighs less than me, which, to be honest, a lot of people do. He's come out and said, Jay Gruden has come out and said, he's going to ask me for more touches. He's not going to get them. He's still a passing down back. But Rob Kelly's going to come back. He's going to be the guy running the ball. Samaj P. Ryan, oh God, man, get out of your head. Just run the ball. It literally looks like he's doing 1, 2. No, I know you're scared of fumbling because of the issue your coach has made of it. Run. But then forget you're holding a ball. Just run.
But then Matt Brown came in and you were like, ooh, that's what second-year running backs do when they get out their own head. And I think that's where P. Ryan might be. What I'll say on Thompson is, you've just lost your one of these. And the best exponent of these probably since we've been in the NFL, and that's Darren Sproles. You need that player who is a safety blanket who can also run 60 yards. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what Thompson is.
Can change the game anytime he touches the ball.
Should he get more touches? No. But what it may allow is more focus on him. Gets our other playmaker, in my opinion, Jamison Crowder, more of the ball. And to be able to do the same kind of thing. Crowder's been quiet so far this year, and hopefully there'll be more focus. Because there's more focus on other people, he may get more touches.
Agreed.
Kareem Hunt. I think we talk about every time we talk about the Chiefs, we're going to talk about Kareem Hunt. Can he do as well this week as he has in other weeks? And I know we played Oakland and Philadelphia, so it doesn't really count. But I'm just going to say it, against the second best rush defense in the league. I know Washington are second.
According to Number Fire's metrics, they're actually the best rush defense in the league. The thing is about Kareem Hunt at the moment, and again, we temper this with the fact that we remember who his head coach is. He's getting the volume. It's his backfield. He is getting the volume. The way that this offense seems to be working for Kansas City is it's Kareem Hunt and then Hill and Kelsey are alternating as to who dominates the passing game. Kelsey got one catch against the Chargers. This after dominating the Eagles. The good thing about getting one catch is we didn't see a bloody taunting penalty. Seriously, Travis, grow up. If we're all going to jump on the other guy for the pathetic celebrations, grow up. I mean, bear in mind, we saw 2 taunting penalties this week that are ridiculous. One of them was the Von Miller, too slow.
How is that? How has the league not come out and apologised? Because that in theory changed the game. It wasn't just a taunting penalty; it kept Buffalo on the field.
And then LeGarrette Blount was penalised because he rolled the ball towards someone. Oh my God! A rolled football along the floor.
That's humanity.
Someone could have someone's eye out with that. But Kelsey, literally, it just seems every week he does something good, and then you hear, unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. You've been thrown out of a game for 2 of these, Travis. It's on your lock. It's on your resume. But anyway, Kareem Hunt has been brilliant. He's been the focal point. He chipped away against the Chargers and then burst out with a big run. That's why you run the ball. Because if you wear them down, you get that. So I think he's going to be involved. He's not going to dominate the Redskins because I don't think that's how Andy Reid's going to coach them to win. But he'll certainly be involved.
Washington at the Chiefs, Monday Night Football, Tuesday morning for those in the UK. Chiefs are favoured by a big 7, Dutton, and the over-under is 49.
I'm going to take the Chiefs to win, but the Skins to cover. And again, I'm going to take the under.
24-13 Chiefs. So under. And Washington, not in every other week, will be garbage. Get to 2-2, which I weirdly expected them to be at the start of the year. It's time to head straight down fantasy corner now, Dutton. First things first, let's find out who the fancy darling of the week is.
Hello, darling.
We are born, we die, the sun sets in the east, and the New York Giants get roasted by tight ends. It's all about Cameron Brate. He's not playing as many snaps as OJ Howard, but he is running more pass routes. The Giants have allowed a receiving touchdown to a tight end every single week this season. Only for about 50. I don't think anyone's gone over 50 yards against them, but they're giving up touchdowns. So Cameron Brate, I don't know. We may see a little bit more of a squeaky wheel gets the oil game because I don't know if you saw Mike Evans wasn't very happy at one point on Sunday.
Spotted that.
I'm not being funny. If that's the other wide receiver they have, then that's a huge issue that comes out because of diva and lack of respect, whatnot. Because he's been forced out essentially of 2 other teams. But no, we'll let Big Mike do it. Probably because he's built like a brick crap house and he beat the living daylights out of us if we brought it up to him. But no, Cameron Brate should be. He's still available in so many leagues. He should be owned and he should be started everywhere this week.
Spoiler alert, I have a feeling, well, I definitely know for one of us, that name may be brought up soon. Dutton, not everyone can get the highlights and be a winner. Last week I think you chose Stefan Diggs as a loser, so let's hope this week goes better with your fancy loser.
Big Ben. Steelers playing the Ravens. Don't trust Big Roethlisberger against the Ravens coming back from what they had dished out to them last week. I think he's gone now 8 consecutive games without a 300-yard passing game, longest such stretch of his career, or tied for it. And it's a misfiring offense. Ed Bichette, very respected Steelers beat writer, said, "I've got one word for what the Steelers offense is this year: dud." And it is, and it starts with him. So this is definitely a week where, if you have Roethlisberger, I'd be looking elsewhere for quarterback.
I've got Le'Veon Bell in my league of records. The lack of production is becoming concerning. Darling Brait, loser Big Ben. But let's find out what Neil and I think should be in your DFS team of the week.
Mains and Duts. Daily Fantasy Team of the Week.
Show me the money.
Neil, who's your quarterback this week?
My quarterback is Drew Brees, 7,200. As I've said earlier, the Dolphins have been bleeding fantasy points to opposition signal callers. And so, as we know, I like to get the stack. So another Saints player may crop up later.
I've gone for Trevor Siemian. He's 5,200. It's a cheaper option. There'll be a reason for that later on, as you'll see. And really the only reason is look at Kirk Cousins' stat line for details on why I think Trevor will be okay. Because, I like Kirk. He's cool. Brain Aaron Rodgers. So if he can do it and Trevor can do something similar, it won't be as good. Trevor Siemian's not as good as Kirk Cousins, but Kirk Cousins isn't 10 times better than Trevor Siemian.
Mm-hmm.
Running back one.
Running back one is Christian McCaffrey. Now, I have said that the Panthers' offense is broken, but Christian McCaffrey is the only thing in there that you can rely on. He is seeing 26% of their targets. He's the running back.
I know.
He's not doing very well running. And as we said before, the Patriots are slightly worse against the pass than they are against the run. But as we always point out, DraftKings is PPR. So run CMC 6,800.
My running back one is Ezekiel Elliott. He's 8,200 and he's playing the 29 best rush defense in the league, the Rams. And Washington, who have struggled to run the ball, it ran for about 500 yards against the Rams. If the Cowboys get in the lead, they just may run Zeke every play. And I expect them to get a lot of yards and probably a couple of touchdowns as well. Running back 2, Neil.
Running back 2 is Wendell Smallwood, 4,100. He is... No one's going to replace Darren Sproles because of the special player he is, and it's obviously heartbreaking that the first game after Sproles is down is against the Chargers, one of his old teams. But of the running backs at the Eagles' disposal, I think Smallwood has the best chance to approach a third down work role. He ran like a man possessed against the Giants, and is better in pass protection and in receiving than LeGarrette Blount. Not saying much, but 4,100. It was a nice cheap play. It allowed me to go slightly bigger on wide receiver than I otherwise might have been able to.
Makes sense, Dalton. I've sold my soul for money and got the running back for the Cincinnati Bengals from Oklahoma. He's 5,700. He's playing the Cleveland Browns. Bill Lazor seems to like him. And I expect this to be his breakout game, as most players have breakout games against the Cleveland Browns. You can now shout at me. Please carry on.
Bill Lazor does like... he doesn't really favour using a committee. He does like one back. And I thought Gio Bernard would be the guy, but we saw last week it's probably going to be Mixon.
So that's why I picked him. Wide receiver 1, Dalton.
Michael Thomas. Get the link up with Drew Brees. If we go back into the deep distant past, and Michael Thomas did do something spectacular at Wembley once, and I'd like to see this one do it as well.
I actually like that Michael Thomas goal. That was a good one. My wide receiver 1, Dutton. What I hate sometimes is having to admit that Dutton is right. It's one of my least favourite things in the world. But if we go back in time and Dutton gives us his top 10 wide receivers, Neil said Odell Beckham Jr. was his number 1, and I said his quarterback is gash, and Neil said who cares. Last week we found out that, yeah, Neil's actually right, and who does care? So for 8,900 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm taking Odell Beckham Jr.
Nice.
Wide receiver 2 done.
AJ Green, 8,600 against the Browns. Squeaky Whale got the oil last week. AJ Green, to be fair, was still being featured heavily under Ken Zampese, but just not particularly efficiently. They made it a point of emphasis to get him the ball, in the key spots. And I think from a volume point of view, he should do quite nicely against the Browns.
I've gone for the wide receiver 1 for the New England Patriots, and that's Chris Hogan. He's 6,000 against the Panthers. I say he's wide receiver 1. I think he's the only wide receiver left. Him and Brandon Cooks, and that's it. Cooks probably gets more of the splash out plays, may get more touchdowns, but as Neil said, DFS's PPR, I expect Hogan to get the majority of the targets and the receptions. 6,000, I think is good value. Wide receiver 3, Neil.
Pierre Garçon, for the 49ers are playing the Cardinals. The Cardinals
stink.
They don't look right. Carson Palmer played quite well on Monday night against the Cowboys, but this defense doesn't look much cop. Tyrann Mathieu doesn't look himself. Patrick Peterson, he probably will be lined up against Patrick Peterson, but again, PPR from a volume point of view, and also he was cheap, so he let me go big elsewhere. I'll take Pierre Garçon.
How much is Garçon done?
5,500.
Okay, I've gone even cheaper. I've gone from one of your favourite players of all time. Sarcasm, by the way. That's Robert Woods of the LA Rams against the Cowboys. Sean McVay's a wizard. Don't ever think he isn't. That, I don't know if it's a tree with Jay Gruden. I don't know, but he's actually good. It's one of them things. He's 3,900. McVay will get him involved and has got him involved in the past, and I expect that to continue against. If they can stop the pass rush, open to question as the Rams' offensive line isn't great, then there will be a lot of space in the secondary.
I didn't realise how much Sean McVay facially resembled Carson Wentz.
Yeah. About the same age as well, I believe.
Very possibly, yeah.
Dutton, who's your tight end? I think I know the answer.
Yeah, 3,800 Cameron Braid.
My name is Paul Mannering and I endorse this message. 3,800 against the Giants. Yes, please. Cheap, cheerful, and hopefully, as Neil quite rightly pointed out, getting us a touchdown. And finally, Dutton, who's your flex?
Well, I've gone even cheaper, and hopefully it will be cheerful. And I've gone with Austin Seferian Jenkins.
Didn't he used to be someone?
He did used to be someone. He led the Jets in targets against the Dolphins. They're playing the Jaguars, who have been gashed by tight ends all season. Even though they were blowing out the Ravens, they had to let Ben Watson score. I think it was written into the contract of going over there. It's not an explosive passing game that the Jets have, but from a volume point of view, volume opportunity, ASJ at 3,000 filled out the last of my skill players quite nicely.
I've also gone for a player in that game. As we're not in London anymore, Alan Haynes will go back into his cave, and therefore Marquise Lee will get the majority of the targets and receptions for the Jacksonville Jaguars this week of 4,500 against the Jets. I thought, yes, why not? Who's your defence and special teams, Dutton?
Bengals 3,500. DeShone Kaiser, if DeShone Kaiser loves one thing, and he loves a lot of things, it's holding the ball too long and trying to heave it downfield. Leads to sacks, leads to interceptions.
That's funny because I had the same thing about Josh McCown, who's the quarterback of the New York Football Jets. They're playing a Jaguars at 3,600, who like sacking people and taking the ball away this year. Now, this hopefully isn't the even week where they're garbage. I'm hoping that they continue, and Josh McCown may not survive.
Saxonville,
indeed. Neil, let's run through it. Quarterback,
Drew Brees.
I've gone for Trevor Siemian. Running back 1,
Christian McCaffrey.
I've got Zeke Elliott. Running back 2,
Wendell Smallwood.
one for Joe Mixon. to my shame. Wide receiver 1.
Michael Thomas.
I've gone for Odell Beckham Jr. Wide receiver 2.
AJ Green.
I've got Chris Hogan. Wide receiver 3.
Pierre Garçon.
I've gone for Robert Woods. Tight end.
Cameron Brate.
Cosine. Flex.
Austin Seferian-Jenkins.
I've got Marquise Lee. And the defence and special teams.
The Bengals.
I've got the Jaguars. Done. Another big week in the books from a preview point of view, and now just ready for Thursday, Sunday, Monday for all these games.
Just to plug some of my work, my tight end streamers article for Rotoviz came out. It'll already be out by the time you listen to this. On Sunday, I will again be taking over the Gridiron account from 1 till 2. Earlier kickoff again, so early time to do that. And I would imagine that I'll be on with Nat. If not on Sunday, probably unlikely. I'll probably be back on Tuesday. Also, another one to look out. I'm going to be recording a show with James Seltzer of Bleeding Green Nation tomorrow night. He usually does a weekly fantasy show with Sigmund Bloom. So I don't know whether I'm instead of or as well as. But if I'm instead of, my God, that's a drop.
It is. Combined, we are at waxing_lyrical. Individually, Dutton is at end13 and I am at main27. Drop us a line. We're always ready to chat.
And we stand by those who kneel.
We do. Indeed, Neil. Indeed. We deliberately didn't talk about it because, I think everyone knows our thoughts on this. And on that note, these top guys are out for this week.